He was still very young and found himself in a desperate situation when 3 armed men came banging at his door making threats, for they wanted to throw him out of his home, just like that, with no alternative presented. The young man pictures himself ending up in the gutter and in the cold, and he didn't know how to survive and felt miserable, betrayed and lost. And in this hopeless state of mind he heard the violent cop shouting at the other side, taking fully advantage of the situation, crushing a helpless human being. And it's this the aggressive cop loved so much about his job, because he'd feel big and invincible, and it didn't matter to him throwing a living being out in the cold as long as he got a kick out of it. And anyway, someone else's pain wasn't his after all, and he, the cop, would sleep in a warm bed anyway, and nothing could happen to him. Well, that's what he thought. The young man begged them to go away, to leave him alone and have mercy. They didn't, and continued to hammer on the door, making threats. Then in utter despair inflicted upon him through the ruthless and armed man at the other side of the door, the young man had himself all other solutions cut off by the offenders at the other side, who were consciously violating one of the main human rights, that all human beings must have a roof over their heads and a bed, or at least to have one provided otherwise. And they had him always cut off, as a cornered rat, not being able to think clear anymore, due to the emotional stress and pressure by the threats, shouts and hammering at the door. The young man grabbed his 9mm army gun of the Swiss militia and shot a couple of rounds at the door, still hoping they would go away and leave him in peace. Thus the dangerous, aggressive cop, Hans Rudolf Kühni, which means the brave one in German, from the Teutonic word Kühn. He would not sleep in his bed anymore, receiving the agony he enjoyed so much to inflict upon others, from the wrong end of a gun himself this time. 1 year later the young man got sentenced to 20 years in prison for killing a cop and seriously wounding another, as if it was him who went to the cops looking for trouble and not the other way around. The state's attorney even demanded life for murder. So you can see the whole story. So there they are. I mean, he looks like the victim, and this one looks like the offender. You know, it's like they exchanged the pictures. Well, they didn't. You know, this is the offender. I mean, look at him, and this is the victim. And as it was, in fact, anything else but premeditated murder, the young man applied for an appeal at the Supreme Court. And it was this, the criminal local Nazi court and their local Bernese Nazi police had to prevent at all cost, because Roger Fankhauser would have finally be freed by a European court after having served a couple of years because of the severe mitigating circumstances of organized premeditated state's terror on a single human being. So they found the young man dead in his prison cell just after Christmas 2013 on December 30th, and they say he just died all by himself of natural causes. In the newspaper they emphasized repeatedly on the fact that it was no suicide, as previously loads of prisoners had been suicided in mysterious ways in the Swiss prisons. As I've pointed out in my videos, and written about in international newspapers. So now they have them die of natural causes, because normally the natural death cases don't make it into the newspaper, and all those suicides over the past years got a bit conspicuous. So just in time for his appeal case for the Supreme Court, they had him natural caused, if you know what I mean. A completely healthy young man of just 37 years just died away mysteriously shortly before his appeal case in an era in which science has made everything possible, including a silent, inconspicuous, convenient death. And these crime cops came to arrest me again, only a few days earlier, on Tuesday, December 17th, 2013 at 16:30 hours, to which I refused as my baby daughter and young children were there, and one of them was ill. Now, realizing they probably saved my life that day, just before Roger Fankhauser was found dead in his prison cell. The Swiss are very capable of killing an entire family if they have to. Well, if that happens, or if I would die of some natural causes in a prison cell or a police station, then you know it is not true. By any means, the Swiss prevent any immigrant cases against the Swiss state and human rights cases to be extended to a Supreme Court, or even worse for Switzerland, a European or international court. This way they can apply their dictatorship laws, never lose any cases, continue to murder and terrorize hidden behind the Swiss Nazi laws of silence, and keep the picture of a clean, honest and neutral country to the outside. And we all know now what the outcome of the autopsy of the young man will be, considering the recent manipulations of some Swiss laboratories who claim that Yasser Arafat was poisoned by a polonium radioactive poison in order to stir up the Middle East. Whereas all other international labs of France and Russia revealed this Swiss trickery of their laboratories. On January 6, 2014, the Swiss National Bank in Zurich stated that they had made a loss of almost $10 billion. That's 10,000 million dollars. Now, that was the bank I filmed with all those Swiss reptilians on it. So that's a huge amount of money. And thanks to Obama, he did it. For which other presidents got JFK'd for. JFK'd. So in the near future we will see some more unpredictable acts of this Alpine base of evil. And I hope the NSA will be there to keep an eye on him. So we can see how Snowden, he got assigned in Geneva. Well, we all know it, but he got pulled over by Oxford, I tell you. It has all to do with the Swiss banks and the IRS. That's what it's about. So dear Russians, just throw him out, this guy. He's working for the Swiss banks, the snow job. Yeah, so this was this year. The young man was found dead in the high security prison, which I filmed a couple of times, which is only a few miles away from where the violent cop died, where the other cops and relatives live, and in the same area of the court and everyone else involved. So I guess his tragic fate was just a matter of time. Even the pictures in the newspapers clearly show who the victim is and who the aggressor, and both are dead now. So the cop below, well, he looks like the aggressor, like we see the comparison of pictures normally like in a newspaper, and the guy above, well, he looks like the victim, and actually he was, you know. It's so clear, isn't it? So here we can even read it. Under the victim it says he is the offender. Because, you know, the picture shows so obviously he's not the offender. I mean, look at him. Look at this guy, he's not the offender. But, you know, the newspapers want us to make us think this way. And under this guy here, and look at his black eyes. It says he's the victim. No way he's the victim. Look at him. And these strange black eyes can be seen a lot in Switzerland. As the grey eminence François Genoux and user Marino Delfino, he enhanced it, which I'll show you now. I already showed it. It was a possessed guy, like, you know. It's a very dangerous and aggressive and corrupt cop. Very dangerous. And his own aggression cost him his life. So here user Marino Delfino enhanced these black creepy eyes of the aggressive and corrupt dangerous cop. And these black eyes can be seen a lot in Switzerland, as Octagon's grey Nazi eminence of Octagon, François Genoux, displays them. And well, I mean, this guy was extremely dangerous. I mean, look in his eyes. He's even shape-shifting. And he knew Hitler. He was a personal friend of Hitler and of Amin al-Husseini. So after the war, when Mr. Ulrich Wille, the other grey eminence, so he took over the position. He started, because the Germans were just tired of wars and all that, and bloodshed. So they they found the Arabs to do the dirt, or some of them, not all of them, of course, and infiltrated Islam. And look at his eyes. Black, like a black hole, just like the aggressive cop. And I put my life in danger talking about it, but because they will probably send the police again, because you're not allowed to have your own opinion here in Switzerland. So maybe the expert Marino Delfino and some others can enhance this better and do a real good close-up of this. I mean, this is evil we're talking about, guys. So let's have a look at him again. This extremely dangerous Swissy. And these guys stand above the law. They control the police. I mean, together with the other ones, you know. They sit in the Justice Department, and they get the 100% support of the Swiss population. I think later on here you can see him like what people call shape-shifting. You can see like when he turns around. I'm not an expert in this. I don't really know, but look, now it's coming. Duck. Extremely dangerous people. So here in Switzerland, you know, they put the innocent in prison, and the big criminals and bankers, they've got nothing to fear. Absolutely nothing. The grey eminence of Octagon. It is. He knew Himmler, he knew them all, personally. So this cop with the strange black eyes, This was the same cop who had been aggressing people before, as he has aggressed me in 2011, and there are 3 witnesses, which can be seen on YouTube. He lied things together on command on the police car's telephone that day to put me in prison. So I understood perfectly well what was going on and haven't left the house alone anymore since almost 3 years now. And this is going on for 16 years. The Swiss authorities are a murderous organization who don't stop before murder, torture, terror and corruption. In their encrusted beliefs of Swiss superiority over immigrants and all other people with this SVP, Swiss People's Party, drive behind and support of the entire Swiss population. And as it is not allowed by the Swiss laws of silence for an immigrant to have his own opinions other than what the Swiss allow you to, they will most probably send their Nazi authorities again to come and arrest me for telling the truth. Switzerland wishes to hide away all proofs and inconveniences at all cost. I hope that one day there will be an honest international inquiry where an independent delegation will look into these files and organized crimes of Switzerland. The Swiss are people united in crime, who, as all criminals, do wipe off their fingerprints by all possible means, whether it be assassination, terror, lies, intimidation, or any other Swiss means of very organized violence. Dear Roger, I made this film so your tormented soul may rest in peace, and at least some people will remember the real story, and hopefully one day the truth will prevail. I'm so sorry for the pain and injustice they inflicted upon you. You will be remembered.